The true sign of great satire is that it is so close to reality that it fools you into thinking that it is true when it is not actually true. Por ejemplo, this is a satirical website. It's called ArcticReady.com. It is a spoof website that takes on all of Shell Oil's drilling misadventures in the Arctic. Are we Arctic challenged? No way! This is satire. It is not real. But a quote on that website was cited as real by a Seattle news outlet after one of Shell's Arctic drilling rigs crashed into an island off of southern Alaska earlier this year. The satire was really good satire and it was really funny, but parts of it looked real enough to get quoted in a real newspaper. It happens. And believability is one way that satire can really work well. There has to be something about it that rings super true. But here's an example of satire that is also about the oil industry that isn't just awesome because it seems so real. This has awesomeness that's kind of just intrinsically awesome. Watch.
In the past, you've had to drive to get gas. In communities like this one, Exxon has revolutionized the way fuel gets to you. We'll pump that right down your driveway. And when the convenience of lawn-based oil reserves meets the power of you, that's the smell of freedom. The freedom to roam and never leave oil behind.
Somebody left the gate open.
Our nationwide lawn immersion systems, or pipelines, make our industry the Johnny Appleseed of getting everywhere. So explore. Wherever you're going, we're already there. Exxon. This rancid sludge won't spew everywhere all by itself.
It's the very talented satirist Andy Cobb. That video is obviously referencing the giant Exxon oil spill in the town of Mayflower, Arkansas. 2 weeks ago, one of Exxon's underground pipelines burst beneath the town of Mayflower, sending tar sands crude oil everywhere. Tar sands is the type of oil that we don't really have any idea how to clean up. But what does Exxon care? They meant to do it. It was just their way of getting their oil to the residents of Mayflower as quickly as possible. Not really. But the idea behind that satire, that it's really Exxon's world and we're just living in it, sorry about all that crude in your backyard, the spoof sort of works in part because that does seem to be a little bit of the attitude that's been on display by Exxon in the town of Mayflower. Reuters published an amazing article this morning about the extent to which this ginormous multinational corporation, Exxon, has really taken control, not just of the spill, but in a lot of ways, a lot of what's going on in this tiny little Arkansas town. They're pushing everybody else aside. Look at this. 3 days after the spill, 120 Exxon workers had descended on the town, a number that would eventually swell to more than 600 from across the country, including, and this is the important part, company doctors, communication specialists, and wildlife experts. Company doctors? Actual doctors sent to the town by Exxon. Quote, when 8 students who were vomiting and complaining of headaches were sent home from Mayflower Elementary School on the Monday morning after the spill, an ExxonMobil doctor arrived quickly on the scene. The doctor quelled concerns about the air quality around the school, which is just a block south of the spill site, according to the school principal, Candy Watts. The doctor explained that some students would have greater sensitivity than others, but because of the air tests done, there was no cause for alarm. Says the doctor paid by Exxon. Don't worry about your vomiting child. Some kids are just really sensitive. The other dynamic at work in this case is not just what Exxon is doing. The other dynamic that's been really interesting to watch unfold since this big spill in Mayflower is the efforts of the state, the efforts of Mayflower and the state of Arkansas to hold Exxon accountable for this. The Attorney General for the state of Arkansas has sort of been all over this. He has been regularly touring the spill site over the last 2 weeks. He's been in contact with attorneys general in surrounding states who have dealt with oil companies and oil spills in the past. And he's already starting to get some results from Exxon. Last week, the Attorney General gave the company a deadline to get his office internal company documents related to this ruptured pipeline, things like blueprints and inspection reports. Oil companies withholding or in some cases destroying documents has been a hallmark issue for state officials in recent years after spills. But the Arkansas Attorney General gave Exxon until yesterday to provide these documents, and Exxon did finally turn them over with just a few minutes to spare before the deadline was up.
Today we received 12,587 pages of documents. That includes 5 CDs of data and more than 200 blueprint-sized diagrams. We received these documents 45 minutes ago. Lawyers and investigators from our office are reviewing them as we speak.
Joining us now is the Attorney General of the state of Arkansas, Dustin McDaniel. His office provided this photo for us today of some of the documents that Exxon has now turned over. Mr. Attorney General, thank you very much for being with us tonight. I really appreciate your time.
I'm glad to be back with you.
I know that your team has only had these documents from the company for about 24 hours or so I understand you haven't had a ton of time to look through them. But what kinds of information are you either finding already or hoping to get from these documents?
Well, it's been a productive 24 hours, and obviously there's a lot of very technical information and things that we're looking for. But in the last 24 hours, I've retained James Lee Witt's company, Witt O'Brien's, who have sent world-class experts to Arkansas. They were on the site today, hands-on, and will be there each day, reporting directly to me about what's happening at the site. We've retained experts to do our own independent air quality testing, referencing some of what you were talking about at the school, just because certain carcinogens are not present in the air doesn't mean that the air is safe, much less pleasant to breathe. And so we're going to be looking through the documents that have been given to us, as well as working with our experts to come up with additional questions based on what we read.
That sounds thorough. It also sounds expensive. Is this going to come down on the taxpayers of the state of Arkansas, or are you hoping that Exxon will foot the bill for paying for these experts?
I don't intend to see the taxpayers of Arkansas fit the bill for this disaster. I expect Exxon, as the responsible party, to pay the bills. I've already sent them a request that they advance $4 million to my office so that we can start paying the paychecks of these people who are doing this work, to look over the shoulders of those 600 people that you referenced.
One of the things that you said at that press conference yesterday was that the spill and in fact, the size of the spill, meaning the amount of oil that has come out of the ground, but also the damage to the pipeline was larger than you had previously known. Can you explain what you meant by that?
Well, I think when people found out that there was a rupture and there was a 65-year-old pipeline, I think that almost everybody assumed that there was some small crack due to age. The rupture was 22 feet long.
Wow.
22 feet is not something that one would think would happen gradually. So now we're starting to ask all new questions. What was the pressure rating within the pipeline? What indications would there have been in the inspection records up until now to lead us to believe that a 22-foot gash would appear in this pipeline? As I keep saying, the more I learn, the more questions that I get.
You know, one of the things that we talked about the last time we spoke, sir, was about how this is very, very heavy oil. You can describe it as heavy crude. Some people are describing it as diluted bitumen in terms of being a mix of different types of petroleum products here, and some stuff that we don't know what's in it. But in any case, it doesn't look like the kind of light sweet crude that we're familiar with from larger spills or spills out somewhere like the Gulf of Mexico. So maybe that means that the means of cleaning up those other spills aren't the best way to clean up this heavy stuff. I thought about that particularly knowing that you guys had some severe weather in this area last night. With the storm that went through the affected area last night, and with the kinds of techniques they're using to try to get this gunk out of the marshes and out of these people's homes, does it seem to you like stuff is getting clean?
Well, you're right. The storm that came through last night was a very serious storm. We had a lot of damage. Arkansas gets tornadoes this time of year. And when you have containers filled with oil-soaked soil and oily water that are all set in a staging area, yesterday afternoon I said, just God forbid what happens if we have, a tornado in the staging area. What do we do about that? Lots of water, a lot of runoff because of the storm. So we were very concerned about it. And you're right, it's not just light sweet crude. It is a heavy tar sands crude. And of course, we don't know what the solvents are, and I still want to know, and I don't know if they've included that in what they've provided to me. Again, it's 12,000 pages, so we haven't got it all digested within the last 24 hours. But there are obviously a lot of chemicals that are incorporated into the product, so I need to know what those are as well.
Arkansas Attorney General Dustin McDaniel, thank you so much for your time tonight. Actually, before you go, I feel like I need to tell our audience they appreciate you being here, that I forced you to sneak away from your grandmother's birthday party tonight in order to be here. And I just want to, as a way of thanks, I just want to say that we have a picture here of Imogene McDaniel. She just turned 92 years old. There she is with former President Bill Clinton.
That's right.
This is my thank you for doing this, particularly given your family responsibilities tonight, sir. I hope that your grandmother had a happy birthday.
I think she had a great birthday. President Obama asked me to testify for Justice Sotomayor in her confirmation hearings, and that was during my honeymoon. So I think my family's used to it.
Well, the country thanks you, sir. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. On the list of stories that I never expected to bring you, the cautionary tale of the French president and his camel is really, really right at the top. That's coming up.